Hi and welcome to another edition of Conversation Oasis. This is the weekly open forum here on Radio Robin Hood, which comes to you from the Kasviskeidas restaurant here in the centre of Turku. My name is David Mawby, welcoming you to the programme, and today we are joined by our usual host, Jalal, who has made this all possible for us. And then we have Erkka, who is a salesman but also has a very illustrious past in active politics. And also I'm happy to welcome here Julian from Germany, more precisely between Hesse and Bavaria, who is currently studying at Åbo Academy, but is also getting a name for himself as a DJ also here in Finland. A big welcome to all of you today.
Thank you.
Good. Well, at least I know that Jale has got a voice on him today. Jale, before we came on air, you were talking very openly about how 80s music changed a lot in the music world. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Well, I like that pop music more than today's pop music. That's how we started to talk with a friend of mine in the morning, today morning. And we were talking about it like 1.5 hours, and I think it's a turning point in music history, and I think it's affected a lot of our today's music.
In the 80s, I think the main thing was that melody came back into music. I think that would actually be something of a rather conservative viewpoint because the late 70s it was punk, 80s was post-punk, and then 80s all of a suddenly saw In the Age of Greed melody. I say In the Age of Greed because one has to put music always against the social background in which it is born. And in the 80s, of course, for instance, in most parts of Europe, the thing was making money. And a lot of people made money, but also there was some good music going around. I'd like to bring Julian in on this.
Yes.
You're our music expert. Was that the case in Germany as well?
Yeah, I think one of the main turning points were technological advances that came especially to the recording studio in the 80s because it was much easier to just plainly make music. You could make music at home or buy a synthesizer and just start and get going.
So it was the beginning of digital recording as well. I can remember visiting Air Studios in London in 1978 and being absolutely fascinated how they got all the fader sliders to move by themselves. They were pre-programmed, and I just was a course I was on, and I just couldn't get over that. And that was just the first stepping stone towards digital recording techniques, which actually gave the ability to make music to just about everyone.
It's not just a digitalization of the music. I think that time has changed a lot of aspects of human life. Like even with the music, if you look at the music, the way that this is what we discussed about with my friend, how they appear in the music also is changed. Like they are more fashionable and they change their costume and their performances on the stage, and everything else is changed in 80s and very much affecting moving toward 90s and 2000s.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think the main factor behind that was that this was the age of the music video. MTV started in America as a very whites-only channel, but they soon learnt their lesson and opened the door to also Afro-American music as well. And there, the emphasis was, of course, on videos. If you had made a video of your song, then you would get onto MTV and all the other channels that came along, for instance, Viva in Germany, I recall, which was infinitely preferable to the American MTV in many ways. Erkka, you followed music back then, I guess. You saw this coming to Finland as well, didn't you?
Music in 80s.
Yeah.
I was born at 83, So I was baby at that time, but I have no memories about this subject.
But still, I have seen a lot of younger people that they say that they are listening to 80s music.
I'm out of this scene. So.
Oh, okay.
Well, we learned something about you.
Yeah.
But you've obviously listened to a lot of 80s music, I would think, since when you grew up. Your parents must have listened to that sort of music as well, I would have thought.
We were not so musical family. We were playing. There were some instruments played in our house, but not so much listening, I would say. So maybe that's one thing. I was listening rap music and punk music when I was young, so I have more experience on that. And yeah, electronic music also.
Well, hip hop and rap came along in the mid '80s in the States and was over here in Finland by 1986-87. I remember very well. So the door was open to all sorts of different kinds of music because of the technology.
It is because of I think absolutely you're right. I think it's not technology also, and I think the music after 80s is not about music anymore. So much is about good looking, good appearing, and the publishing companies and the sexual liberation and all these things on the stage. Before 80s, we had a singer alone on the stage and his voice. But today we have a lot of other elements.
That's right. You mentioned sort of sexual liberation. Well, that of course happened supposedly in the big cities of Britain in the late 1960s, courtesy of the Rolling Stones and the bands there. But I think for the average listener, it was definitely the 80s. They actually saw bands who dared to be different. Let's, for instance, consider bands such as Duran Duran, guys who wore makeup. There was Boy George, who had a very androgynous performance, performing reggae, which was quite interesting. And then you had bands like Bronski Beat that were openly gay. Yes, this had been done in the late 1970s by Tom Robinson, but I stopped the name dropping. But I make the point is that you're quite right.
ABBA,
things did change.
ABBA, you forgot ABBA?
No, I must have forgot about 101. So, yes, 80s music opened the door. What happened after that? The 90s came along, and by then the computers got smaller. You didn't need even the Yamaha DX7 machine. You could be in your bedroom and make a track, and you could get to number one on the charts for what it was worth.
And now technology allow you to not to sing, but move your lips.
The autotune. Germany was in the forefront of this. Some of the first bands to use technology, synthesizers, were of course in Germany, Kraftwerk.
Yeah.
And when did you first become interested in electronic music?
Actually, not so far in the past. It was, I think, about, how old am I now?
Keep counting.
15 years ago.
Yep.
Maybe. Yeah, because at first I was playing in a band. I was bass player, and through our drummer I got into some electronic music that was not techno and not this monotonous
drum beats.
That
drum
was
machine.
a bit different. And through him I got into things like Prodigy, for example, that were, I don't know, they blew up like...
They did, yes. Sampling and so on,
yeah,
yes,
exactly.
yes. Brilliant stuff, absolutely brilliant stuff. You're listening to Conversation Oasis, coming to you from Kasviskeidas in the centre of Turku. I'd like to move on. We touched now on 80s music. It all had to be marketed. And marketed it was by MTV, Viva in Germany, and the record companies. And now we're all being marketed something. Go online and what happens, you see pop-ups for this and pop-ups for that. It's almost as if the computers are listening or are tuned into your mind to know what you might want to buy. for instance, me being on the receipt of receiving my pension, frequently get notified that I could claim this benefit or that benefit. I don't believe it for 1 second, but somehow they seem to know what I want. That has been the case in the past few weeks, where a certain shop here in Turku has flooded me with advertisements for one specific item, saying that it's now half price. When I go on site and I look for this, I find that no, they direct me to a store where it is the normal price. I put this to you guys, Julian and to Erkka, because you are both somehow connected with marketing. Erkka, you market things every day. Is this right, what they are doing?
Like selling, it's saying it's half price and then it's not.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound right.
Yeah, but it happens. And we have, the consumer ombudsman in this country who is powerless to do anything about this dishonest advertising.
Yeah, it seems to be the standard way of doing business, more or less. Like not this kind of like lying, but a little bit of lying, like for example, you have a milk bottle and then there is this happy cow in it. But when you go to the milk production, there is no happy cows there.
They are sad cows.
They are quite sad cows because they don't have windows in their home and they don't get out at winter time. So I would say this is like this kind of things I'm talking about.
And Julian, you've studied the ethics, or are studying the ethics of marketing. How does this sort of seem to you, the happy cow?
Yeah, we one part of the studies we had with ethics. We looked at different. The happy cow is, you can't sell products with sad cows on a packaging, for example.
No.
That's obvious. So you have to make something positive, that the consumer has a positive picture in his mind when he looks at a product. So the best case, or not the best case, the first thought that comes to their mind is, oh yeah, let's put this cow into a wide green field and they are all happy and have so much space. But all marketing communication is somewhat manipulation. So you have to decide how much this manipulation can go, should go. And there are no strict rules with the ethics of marketing. You are not bound to anything. You can do whatever you want. But
is it occurred to you that how possibly we can prevent this?
It's difficult because it has, I think, something to do with the whole society. Because, for example, if you look at tobacco advertising in the 70s or something, and you look at tobacco advertising now, it has almost completely gone from I don't know how it is here, but I've not seen.
You don't
so
see
many.
the product
yeah, exactly.
either.
The Western man is dead now. The cigarette packets.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And that came with time and with education of the people, and with education that smoking is dangerous. And I think to get it into the minds of the people that the cows are sad, to put it in that way.
So when's the day going to happen when they realise that cows aren't happy at all? So milk will be drinking goat's milk, which is infinitely healthier. And we have happy goats.
I would prefer oat milk because the oat plants, they are so happy.
Well, come on, tell us all about it then. Yes.
What?
Well, tell us all about it. Well, I've never had an oat drink in my coffee, because it turns into curdles.
You have to buy this oat milk that is made for coffee, so it stays solid, or not solid, but how do you say?
Correct.
Uniform.
Yes, uniform. Yes.
Yeah. So you buy that darker bottle that says coffee oat milk
Yeah.
or something.
And pay €4 for it.
No, I think 180 or something.
No, it's not 180. I think it's more than 2.
No, you're going to the wrong shops. You're going to the gas station to buy oat.
This is community radio. No commercials, please.
yeah, no commercial.
But it's not just about these choices that we have. It's about the legal terms that we should take as a step to stop these big companies to not to abuse the customers by this wrongly advertisement.
And also to stop the companies from abusing the environment. Have you ever wondered, is it absolutely necessary to have 20 different versions of shampoo on sale in one shop? Is it necessary to have 15 different types of detergent on sale in one shop? Wouldn't one bar of soap do, if you have to use soap, that is? And then let's go to other things. The whole cosmetics industry, to my mind, is a falsity. Some of us might like, well, I won't give you the name, not on Radio Robin Hood, while some of us might like something else. It seems all a bit ridiculous. And incidentally, why must there be 20 different brands, 30 different brands of underpants for men being sold to me at the wrong price?
So I think the first step that we should take is that to stop big companies to lobby in the parliament, because they do a lot of wrong things, but still by lobbying they can bring their products to the market. Lobbying is a huge money involved in there, and there is a lot of political influence, and there are a lot of political wrong money laundry that is coming from these big companies for elections, which is just for this kind of activities. So if we stop lobbying, a lot of bad things are going to stop.
Yeah, well, I understand that lobbying is just it's like advertisement, and at its best it can be just giving information for customers or the people making the decisions. So it doesn't have to be bad. I think we could maybe use the same rules for marketing and lobbying. You just pass the information.
If a company is producing the right products, why do they have to do anything with politicians? They should go through the economical path.
I didn't mean that. I just say that they are quite similar to each other. You should pass information, but you can also, if you do it wrong and without moral, you mislead.
But still, big corporations put millions into lobbying, and the reason being is that they want their particular products to be sold, and they also want to dominate the particular market. Let's go to Brussels for a minute, where I think most of the real estate around EU headquarters is taken up by big corporations who use it to house their lobbyists. The same is true in Washington. It's also the same in London. I'm pretty sure it's getting. If you look at what companies have their headquarters nearest to the Parliament in Helsinki, you will find a lot of big corporate names there.
The oil and coal industry, they have a lot of lobbying in United States and England and Europe. This recently is in news, palm oil, that which is not that healthy for human, but it's so cheap, and big corporations are using it in a lot of different food products, and probably the bakery and other industries, which is just possible through lobbying, nothing else.
Okay, we've had our little bit on lobbying, but I'd like to bring Julian in for our third subject on today's program, especially as we do have a young guest from Germany. I don't know what the situation will be by the time this program goes on the air, but Angela Merkel is currently involved in negotiations to form the old Grand Coalition between her Social Democrats on the so-called left of politics in Germany and the definite right of Germany, which is the CDU and the CSU. The Social Democrats didn't do well in the last elections. I think that's true to say, Julian.
Yeah, and the CDU, CSU also lost a large amount of their voters, especially to the right or alternative right, the alternative for Germany. And yeah, they...
Now, it's said that if the Alternative for Deutschland, which is labelled as the extreme right party in Germany, that if it were to gain a few more seats, it could have greater influence within the German Bundestag. As a free-thinking young German, are you nervous about the growing role of AfD in German politics?
Yes, and also a bit no, because the first days or the first weeks of the AfD in the parliament show that most of them have no idea how a parliament works. So they first have to figure out how to do their job and how to basically behave as in the parliament. So
some on the right in Finland never learn to carry on.
Yeah, but at the same point we have those people who know what they're doing, and most of them come from the extreme right and have been, for example, associated with the NPD, which is the former extreme right party, or not former. They exist also now, but they have not so much influence. The whole thing with the AfD is it started not as a right-wing organization. It started as an anti-European. It started with we don't want to be in the euro, we want back to our own currency. Yes. And I had some friends who were voting them at that point. But then these people, or the party involved things like the migration, refugee crisis, and these things in their politics, and this is where the extreme right people stepped on board.
So you're saying the extreme right stepped into AfD because of the immigration crisis due to the Syrian civil war?
I think so.
Yeah. Which brings me to my next question, because it seemed to me that a lot of their support comes from rural areas in Germany and also from the former area of the DDR, which of course was immediately after the fall of the Berlin Wall. There was still a lot of support for the old Socialist Unity Party that ruled the DDR.
Yeah. The fun thing is that in these parts of Germany we have almost no refugees. So they are afraid of the voters of the AfD there are afraid of something they have never seen. They only have heard horror stories that are propagated by,
I will
use the term fake news there.
Or is Axel Springer still active in Germany?
Yeah, they are big, yeah. But AfD... they distribute fake news articles and fake news basically about left people, about in German they say Gutmenschen, the good people, and they use it in a negative way, which is I don't know, weird. And also about foreigners and refugees. And I have forgotten the question.
Well, I think you've given us a good sort of insight into how the AfD how the AfD works, and I mean the fact that if Merkel's Grand Coalition fails, I mean this could open the door to them.
It has already, because the people who are voting for the AfD feel left behind from the politics of Merkel and the last 4 to 8 or whatever years. They feel like they are not part of the society anymore. They feel like everything has become richer and richer, and they have become poorer.
They become sort of disenfranchised from the political system, which is something we've seen here in Finland in the last 5 to 10 years with the True Finns party, and of course they've broken into two separate factions now in Britain with UKIP, but more dramatically, of course, with the rise of Trumpism in the United States. How do we combat this now?
I think this is very false alarm in whole European countries, because naturally when there is a kind of unknown things happening in your environment, it creates fear, and how you defend yourself, you have your country is having its own mechanism. But I think mass immigration because of these Middle East wars, so has caused this fear in Europe, and naturally this will happen. But as soon as we have more stability in this field, the immigration, I think the fear will disappear again, and that extreme right will drop. I think that it's a false alarm.
Well, much as I disagree with you, I wish you were right. And on that note, because the clock is ticking against us, Jalal, I said, you have had the final word on today's program. And
but let's finish it with the positive one.
You have 10 seconds, 15 seconds.
Yeah. No, but I meant just that it's a false alarm. I don't believe that we should be afraid.
But fear is not the answer to anything.
No, definitely not. And fear is how they rule us anyway. Thank you very much to Erkka, to Julian, and to Jalle for this edition of Conversation Oasis. I'll be away for a few weeks, but someone will be taking the ruling hand here next week and in the weeks ahead. Thank you for joining us here at Kasviskeidas here in Turku. See you next week. Bye.